You can make it from nothing. This is a great video from somebody called AC Hampton.
My name's AC Hampton, and before the age of 20, I was arrested a total of 3 times for things that I'm not too proud of. By 24, I was a self-made millionaire, and now almost a decade in, the companies that I built off of nothing more than just a laptop bring in over $500,000 a month.
This is a guy that I've been following for a number of years. He's an e-commerce genius. If you're into business, if you want to make more money, if you're entrepreneurial, you will get something from this video. So let's check him out. AC Hampton in the building. Let's go.
My name's AC Hampton, and before the age of 20, I was arrested a total of 3 times for things that I'm not too proud of. By 24, I was a self-made millionaire, and now almost a decade in, the companies that I built off of nothing more than just a laptop bring in over $500,000 a month. In this video, I'm gonna be sharing my full story, some of it that I've never said on camera, not to impress you, but because I genuinely believe that somebody watching this right now is closer to their breakthrough than they think. I'll walk you through everything: the streets, losing it all, the moment that changed my whole life, and exactly how you can use the same vehicle that got me out. I grew up with a single mom who worked so much that she was gone 2 weeks out of every month just to keep the lights on. And I mean that literally, okay? Like games, events, senior night, I was always showing up by myself. That's just how it was. It wasn't that she didn't care, she just didn't have the time. And honestly, when I'm looking back, that forced me to figure out how to push myself when nobody else was going to. You see, what I did have from a really young age was just this crazy obsession with money. Not in a greedy way, but more like I watched my parents struggle every day, and I just knew that I never wanted to feel that. So money was just never a want for me. It always felt like a necessity, and I understood that at 7 or 8 years old. So at 12, I started Hampton Lawns. I printed flyers in my basement, I put a little logo on them, and then I went door to door through the whole neighborhood. And I ended up with maybe like 6 or 7 recurring customers, where I was constantly mowing them in the summer and shoveling driveways in the winter, because we all know how that Missouri weather is. And this was because I always just wanted to make sure that I had at least $100 to my name. But here's the thing that just nobody talks about when you grow up in an environment like that, and that's that the streets are not going to wait for you to figure yourself out. They're just right there. I mean, I watched my sister get arrested multiple times in high school, stealing cars, in and out of rehab. I mean, there was times that the police would literally pull up to my high school and everybody would know who they were looking for. And I saw all of it. I mean, it was right in front of my face. I watched it up close, and I told myself that wasn't going to be me. But knowing what not to do and actually doing the right thing, we all know that those are 2 very different things. And that gap is exactly what chapter 2 is about. I mean, think about it. I had the perfect case study of what not to do living right in my own household. My sister has already been through it all at this point. Arrest, stolen cars, rehab, I mean the whole thing, and that's only a glimpse of it. So through these peak teenage years, I mean, I watched every consequence play out in real time from the front row. Most people don't get that kind of warning. And on top of that, it wasn't even just my sister. I bailed my own mom out of jail at 15 years old with money that I had no business having. That's the environment that I'm talking about. And that was just a normal Tuesday.
Listen, this is very inspirational. You learn from your environment. You learn from what you see. You can be a product of your environment and what you see, or you can decide that this is not going to be you. You don't need to follow. You don't need to be a follow fashion person. You can make a decision for yourself to make that change. You can trust God, you can believe God to open a door that your life will be different. But let's continue with this, because there's some really great points that he's made about what he's been through. And I think the biggest thing you can get from it so far is that he said that he got the biggest warnings from his sister. So he didn't just watch and see and have a front row seat of what's happened to his sister. He recognized that this was a warning for him. When a lot of people, or I say most people, sometimes they like that lifestyle. They like living on the edge. They like the life of crime. And they take inspiration from people that do crime and make money, for instance. And they don't see it as, listen, this is something I need to learn from, and I'm not to go ahead and follow this lifestyle. This is incredible so far. So let's check out AC a little bit further. Let's go.
My first time ever getting arrested, I was just 16 years old. A pair of Air Forces. That's what it was. I wanted something that I just couldn't afford, and I ended up just taking it. And what happened is I got caught. And here's the part that's going to sound crazy. That's actually what got me into selling drugs, is I told myself I was never going to steal again. I remember telling myself that I was never going to take something that wasn't mine. So I found another way to get money. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I didn't know what I was doing. I 100% knew. The logic just made sense to a dumb 16-year-old kid who thought the rules didn't apply to him. I thought that I was invincible. Nothing could ever happen to me. Then my second arrest happened when I was 18 for vandalism. And here I actually spent 2 days in jail. And the scariest part here is at this point, it really just felt like part of the lifestyle. And
that is so common that people begin to feel that they're invincible and nothing can happen to them. And they are the hottest thing and nothing can touch them. Pride sets in. And listen, the Bible says that pride comes before a fall, right? If you have a haughty spirit, high-mindedness, you think yourself more highly than you ought to think, you will fall. And it's a dangerous place to be in.
And I wasn't even scared to go to jail. I remember talking to myself back in the day, even when I was sitting in that jail, like, okay, I got caught, I'll do a couple of days, and then I'll just get back out. And the biggest problem here is that nobody around me, like my friends or family, was treating this like a big deal, so I didn't either. And then came arrest number 3, and this one was different. I was 19, first person in my entire family to ever even make it to college. And I'm sitting here in a jail cell for 4 days. I got arrested on New Year's Eve, jail was closed on the holiday, and I actually didn't get out until January 3rd. And throughout those 4 days, I had no choice but just to sit there and think, just listening to the other cellmates to try to get past time. And I will never forget this dude, right? There was this guy in there, and it was like his 4th time being in there this year. Another one in his 40s who knew like every single guard by his name, like they were some of his co-workers. Someone else on the phone going back and forth with his baby mama about missing another visit with his kid. And I'll never forget those days of me just sitting there thinking, like, I know these guys, not personally, but I know exactly how they got here because I was already walking down that exact same road. And I started envisioning myself at 35 or 40 years old in the same cell trying to tell some 19-year-old kid who just got in that this was my 5th time being in this jail in like the last year. And that image, that specific image of myself is what finally broke me. I mean, it broke me completely because I knew I was smart. I knew I wasn't stupid. I never was. I always knew what I shouldn't be doing. I just kept choosing the wrong thing every time. And the only reason I kept choosing it was because everybody around me was doing the same thing. And when that's your whole world, that's all you see, that's what you feel is normal, well, then you believe that it's okay to be going down that same path. But sitting in that cell, I got honest with myself for maybe like the first time ever in my life, where the person that I was, the one that everybody knew me as, the one who fit into that life, he could not coexist with the person that I needed to become. So I made the only decision that made sense. I packed up everything that I had to my name and I left. No real plan, no context, no idea what I was actually walking into. I just knew that if I stayed right here in Kansas City in the same exact place around the same exact people, I was going to continue to keep being the same person and either be dead, in jail, or just absolutely hating my life.
So true. I hope you've taken notes of that. The people that you are around, the people that you feed from, the people you rub shoulders with, you are the sum of the people that you rub shoulders with, the sum of the people that you absorb from, some of the people that you watch. It could be even the people that you watch on YouTube or the people that you hang around with on a daily basis, your family, things like that. And he literally said, I have to get myself out of this situation and I have to leave. God will tell a person that he has a call in their life. And he will say to them, listen, get out of here, move. Move to another place. And he will transform that person's life. You use them. And sometimes they move and they get transferred to that place or they go to that other place, sometimes not by their will. Yeah. Joseph, he ended up somewhere he never expected to be This is Joseph in the Bible, if you read that story. Sold by his brothers, ended up way in a completely different place from where he was. But listen, his life was monumental. But he had to come out of the place that he was in and end up somewhere else, you know. And there's so many other stories, biblical stories. But this is a great story here. And he literally had to get out of where he was, to get out of the environment that he was in, so that his life could move along a different trajectory. Okay, so let's continue checking this out. This is a great story.
And literally nobody knew me. Not just in Dallas, but I didn't know a single soul in all of Texas. And I landed what looked like a solid sales job. I mean, it had decent pay, good benefits, normal people in the interview. I thought this was it, the clean slate that I finally needed. And I showed up to the first week, and right away I found out the truth. This wasn't a sales job. I was actually every single day just building wine displays inside Walmarts and Targets, working like 60 hours a week of straight up manual labor, getting a $20,000 base salary that I could barely survive on. I mean, my rent, I remember, was being $1,000, and I'm sitting here only making like $1,800 a month, and I still have groceries, I still have gas, I still have utilities. All my expenses completely took up every single cent that I was making. But I needed the money. I was extremely desperate, so I showed up every single day. And here's a part of this story that I've actually never told on camera. Sitting in those parking lots of those Targets and those Walmarts in between all those store runs, I actually started building an Instagram page called Sneaker Labs, and it was like a sneaker page. I had a supplier who could give me any shoe at retail, and this is right when resale was going crazy. You know, the Off-White trends, the Yeezy trends, all of that was popping at that time. Yeezys were going for like $700 on the secondary market, and I'm sitting here getting them for like 180. And I remember my supplier sending me videos of these shoes like daily. I would then go to my Instagram that I created for that shoe page. I'd post a video. Someone would DM me. They would send me the money. I would then hit up my supplier, and he'd just ship it straight up to them. Where from March to November 2018, I did over $50,000 in revenue. Never once did I actually hold a single pair of shoes in my hands. And you want to know what's crazy is at this time, I never heard of dropshipping once. It wasn't even a thing. And I was literally doing it in real time without even knowing it. That was the first moment in my life that I realized that you could actually make real money online. But then everything fell apart at the same time. I came home one day, and that apartment I just moved into had been completely ransacked. They took all my clothes, food, furniture, even the canned foods in my pantry, all of it gone. So what's the first thing I did? I was scared to lose money, so I called my boss. I was like, yo, this is what's happened. I just got robbed. And I'm like sitting here on the phone with him waiting for some empathetic response. And you want to know what this man said to me? All this man said to me was, you're in your 90 days of working here, and you need to show up to the shift, or you're going to be suspended or fired. No, are you okay? Like, you know, take the day. Nah, it was like, you need to show up. And right then and there, I'll never forget this. I'm sitting here pacing back and forth in the parking lot on the phone with him, and I understood.
Wait a minute. Did you hear what he just said? He said the response from his boss was typical. You can spend so much hours. I think he says 60 hours. You can spend so much hours in a job, and you could be struggling to make ends meet, and you're giving the majority of your time to your job. That's no way to live. Listen, this is so typical. And they don't care. They will cut you. They will cut you in a second if you do not fulfill what they want you to fulfill, what they expect you to fulfill, what you sign up for, essentially. So this is such an example that your life can turn, your life can meet catastrophe outside of your workplace, and most jobs, they won't care. Listen, you fulfill your purpose here, or you're off. And the truth of the matter is, that is what work is. There's only a few employers that will actually say, you know what, we'll help you out. That's not what your job is there for at the end of the day. The truth and the raw brass tacks, get down to brass tacks. Listen, the raw truth is, your job is not even there for that. Your job is, you're contracted for a certain amount of time, for a certain salary, to fulfill a purpose for them. It's about them more than anything. If the scales are absolutely tipped in the favor of the employer, listen, you could be getting paid 6 figures. They have you, and they can get rid of you if they want to.
something that I've carried with me ever since. And that is that nobody cares about you. Nobody's coming to save you. And if you want a different life, you have to build it yourself. That's just being completely transparent. And thank God I kind of understood it then, because the worst of the worst didn't even happen yet. You see, a few months later, a construction crane, literally a construction crane, collapsed and fell directly into my apartment building. The whole building was condemned. I mean, completely destroyed. A few people actually died. And I mean, it was on the news and everything. And I had nothing and nowhere to go at that moment. There's thousands of people with no home. Red Cross ended up flying in, and they put all of us in sleeping bags right across the street in a church. Now, most people in that situation, they would have went right back to the same ways as before. Calling up the old contacts, making fast money the way that I used to, slip right back into the same cycle that I just fought so hard to get out of. And if I did that, I know honestly, nobody would have blamed me with the situation that I was in. But I remember just sitting there, right? I'm in my little sleeping bag. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm looking around at this church, and something shifted in me. There was mothers all around, right? With newborn babies sleeping on their chest. Why? Because they ended up only giving sleeping bags to the adults. So the kids, they didn't have cribs, they didn't have baby beds. So the parents were just doing whatever they could to just make it through the night. And throughout those first couple days in that church, I could barely sleep. It was so loud and my mind was just racing. And that's how I understood that there was a problem. Like, there was a problem right in front of me. And that is the fact that there's nowhere for babies to sleep. You want to know what's crazy is I'm not even thinking about solving a problem for the world, or that this would go viral, or that this would be a massive big product. I'm just thinking about the people in this room that I could solve the problem for. So I sat there and I started researching portable cribs, travel baby beds, basically everything a parent in that situation needed but just couldn't easily find. Then after about a week of sleeping in this church, the city ended up cutting me $1,000 check as compensation for the apartment collapse. So in this moment, I had a choice: get a new place and play it safe, because like that whole last week when I was sleeping in that church, I was going to job interview after job interview and just trying to get as many opportunities to try to give myself some type of way out. And at the end of that week, I ended up having 3 job offers sitting in my inbox at that exact moment. So I had options of what I wanted to do: freedom to make my own money and do it the right way, freedom to have the choice of doing what I want on a day-to-day basis, freedom to travel, freedom to make my own choices. And when I knew that's what I wanted, I ended up turning all 3 of those job offers down. And I took every single dollar that I had and I just bet it all on myself. And this is June 2019, right? So in this moment, I told myself I'm gonna give myself 6 months to go all in, or I just need to go back home and try to figure something out with my life. And there's no backup plan. It's just option A or option B. And I chose option A, and option A was to go all in. And that's the only choice that I had at that moment. My back is against the wall and I was forced to make this work. Not because I just want to give myself a better life, but because I just genuinely didn't want to go back to the same life that I had before, moving back.
I love this. Listen, I love this. He took the step. He took the step, turned down those jobs, and he took the step because, listen, a decision had to be made. Listen, and as far as he was concerned, sometimes you have to have this in your mind, but as far as he was concerned, he has to do this. And we have to get to a point where we say that we have to do this for my life to change, for me not to go down that path. And there's no plan B, there's plan A and A only, is make it. Make it is the plan. Love this. Come on.
Back to the same city that was already tearing me down. So after making that decision of going all in, I ended up launching the Shopify store. And after a week, after a lot of building, because there was like no AI at that time, you know, the orders actually started rolling in. I was getting 1 sale the first day, 2 to 3 sales the second day. And I remember like seeing my dashboard actually making revenue. Now, was it slow at first for sure, but it ended up just exploding. And 6 months later, that one product, that baby bed, the one that I found while I was homeless, sleeping in a church, watching mothers lay their newborns down on the chest, made over $1.8 million in revenue. And it's crazy because that moment that should have broken me.
Woo! Wow. Listen. One product. Look at these figures. One product can change your life. His situation brought revelation. He got revelation in his situation. And because of that revelation, and because he took action on that revelation and he researched based on the revelation, he literally made a step and changed his life. Thank God. Thank God that this happened. Thank God he didn't die when that crane fell. You see, these situations, he could have been one of the people that died. He wasn't one of the people that died. He stayed alive, and God kept him. And literally, he got a revelation in that church. He got a revelation in that church, thank God. And look at him now. Look at these figures. This is absolutely phenomenal. Take note. What is your situation saying? What revelation is there in your situation? He had a situation where he was in a cell, where that time broke him because he had time to really think and listen to other people telling their stories. We have to have a time. You have to have a time. We all have to have that time, that moment or moments that literally change our life and make us change our mentality.
Actually became my breakthrough moment. And here's what most people miss about that part of the story. It wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. It was a fact that I was literally in a position where failure was not an option. And that kind of pressure either breaks you or it builds you into a whole other beast. And for me, it woke up this spark inside of me that I've never seen before. Because dropshipping didn't just make me money. It forced me to become someone who actually runs a real business. Somebody that I've never been before. Somebody that I never even imagined being, especially in the situation that I was a couple years before that. And I walked in this knowing nothing. I was just using every single failure as a learning lesson. Every time that I was bad at customer support, I got chargeback alerts at 3 a.m. So I had to learn the system to avoid that the next time. Every time that my ads bombed or my ad account got shut down, well, I lost money that I didn't have. So what I had to do is learn marketing and learn how to run ads the right way. Every time I sourced the wrong product, I learned supply chain. Every time that I misread the data, I learned how to actually scale. Most business models let you hide your weaknesses, but dropshipping doesn't. It actually puts everything on the table and forces you to fix it or just to continue to keep losing. And from someone who came from nothing, no connections, no safety net, that full body workout is exactly what built me into someone who could eventually run an 8-figure operation. That's the real value. Not just the first 1.8 million, but the person that I became chasing it. And if you want to build those exact same skills, the marketing, the operations, the decision making, then stick around.
Listen. I want you to understand this. Your business builds you. I heard this a few years ago, that your business builds you. That everything you learn in your business, don't see even failing. Don't even see it as failing. See it as a learning experience. And as you're doing your business, as you're running things, your business will expose who you are. It can shape who you are, and it will build you who you are as you run your business. This is very powerful. And please don't let that just go over your head. You have to get into that business, get into that thing you're supposed to be doing, and let it build you. Learn, and don't see failure as failure, but learn from everything. So good.
Around because I will let you know exactly how at the end of this video. So at this point, I was making 6-figure months and I had over 6 figures profit in my bank account, and people started asking questions. First, it was just people that I knew. You know, friends from college, people from back home who just watched the whole thing unfold. I would get on calls with them, I'd walk them through what I was doing, and I would just show them what was working. And what's crazy is they actually started seeing results doing the same thing I was telling them to do. So what happened is they ended up telling their friends, and those friends started reaching out to me, and then just complete strangers on the internet were asking me for advice like every day. And honestly, I didn't know how to give the advice out. So what I did instead was I just started posting on YouTube, on Instagram, basically anywhere that I could document what I was building in real time. And pretty quickly, I realized something, is that the comment section was my classroom. Every time you guys commented, every single question, it showed me where people were stuck. Every breakthrough showed me what was actually working. Every single struggle showed me where the gaps were. But here's what I figured out fast, is people, they didn't need more information. They needed clarity. I had all this free content out there and it was getting watched, but almost nobody was applying it. And the moment I actually started charging people to learn this information and guiding them through it, everything changed. Those people who invested took action and got real results. Not because the information changed, but because they had skin in the game. And after months of replying back to every single DM, taking every single call, and helping every single student, and on top of everything else I was doing, I realized I didn't have to do it alone, because I started realizing real early that I was a bottleneck. Someone would hit a wall on a Saturday and not hear back from me until Monday because I just didn't have the capacity. And honestly, that wasn't fair to them, and it wasn't sustainable for me. So I built a team, and I wasn't just bringing in anybody. I wanted people who had actually been through it themselves. People who knew what it felt like to fail, what it felt like to have to push through and to finally break through on the other side. People who genuinely cared whether or not our students won. Real consultants who've already built their own 6- and 7-figure Shopify stores. So I started pushing out the team and the full support across multiple time zones, including weekends. Full systems, accountability structures, real milestone tracking, and then out of nowhere, I started seeing students hitting $80,000 in their first few months, and the results started speaking for themselves. Students like Jacob, who went from complete scratch to $60,000 in the first 90 days. Or Manpreet, who had tried every other program out there and finally broke through with us, making over $45,000 in less than a month. These aren't cherry-picked outliers. This is what happens when someone actually plugs into a real system built by someone who came from the exact same place that they're in right now, where all those hours that I was grinding alone just trying to figure out how to make this work, that turned into a real operation, where now we've been able to generate over $50 million in student results, and it's still counting up every single day. And even since then, I've been able to generate over $10 million in e-commerce sales for myself, all because I trusted the process, and hundreds of other people trusted that same process that I was following. And that's something that no revenue number has ever been able to top. And the feeling of people actually seeing the system work, trusting it, believing in it, putting in the work, and seeing the outcomes of thousands, even sometimes hundreds of thousands, even sometimes millions of dollars in student results, that's a revenue number that has never been able to top the feeling that's came from just changing your guys' lives every single day.
So I'm going to stop right there. I hope you've got inspiration from this. Check out the rest of this video. AC Hampton, he's a great teacher in the area of e-commerce and drop shipping. You can learn a lot from him, but I hope that you've got something from his story. It's a great inspirational story of someone who has gone through it so much. And tap into that entrepreneur in you, and you can see great things happen in your life. Don't settle for that job. Go out and do it. Go check out AC Hampton. I hope you got inspiration from this, and please make sure you check out this channel again, subscribe, and I love to connect with you. Nice one.